El Chapo grew through the ranks to become the most powerful drug baron of the 21st century. However, his accent isn't a story to be discussed today. What really matters is how he got hooked on not only drugs, but also women, while being a master at espionage. For those who are just joining, hit that subscribe button and ring the notifications bell to stay connected to the channel. Espionage is simply described as the effective, ultimate, and rewarding use of spies. I hope the tautology makes you understand. El Chapo was rather part of a much bigger drug network, previously only holding a lower position, and only led the hardest jobs of leveling competition. Following a few incidents that always seem to happen in life, El Chapo found himself leading his own drug empire after he strategically maneuvered his way through prison and trust. El Chapo was obsessed with spying on his lovers. This explains his love for espionage, and with the help of his IT specialist, the Mexican drug lord would supply his spies with what he called his special phones, some devices that had been infected with the commercial spyware FlexiSpy. With that program installed, the phones became surveillance tools for the narco-trafficker, born Joaquin Guzman Loera. For weeks, jurors in a federal courtroom in Brooklyn have endured listening to evidence against Guzman, who has been charged with running a global, multi-billion-dollar drug empire as the head of the powerful Sinaloa cartel. In recent days, the trial has taken a turn towards techno-thriller as the prosecution brought Guzman's former IT specialist to the stand, where the man detailed how he set up an encrypted telephone system for El Chapo, supplied him with commercial spyware to spy on lovers and lieutenants, and then turned the whole system against him. For longtime observers of technology and espionage, the El Chapo trial has turned into a parable of times. A former general counsel at the National Security Agency named Stuart Baker noted that the fundamental lesson is that technology makes accessing this information easier and cheaper. It's just too easy to get a hold of this stuff. We are going to see people get access to private information more easily. El Chapo was noted to also delight in infecting his underlings' phones with spyware. He would call up his lieutenants and hang up, then activate the microphones of an infected device to hear what his subordinates had to say when their boss wasn't in the room, according to courtroom testimony. Maybe somehow he stayed so terrific that he trusted no one, especially coming from where could be considered a shithole in the cartel of Miguel Felix Gallardo and the few breakaways that came after. Guzman's IT specialist, Christian Rodriguez, says he first supplied his boss with 10 devices infected with FlexiSpy, and then another 40, providing him with a powerful tool to monitor his employees and lovers. The software was installed on phones belonging to his wife, Ella Cormanel Ispuro, and at least 2 girlfriends. In 2010, the FBI approached Rodriguez and flipped him, which allowed the Bureau to infiltrate El Chapo's communications network. Rodriguez installed monitoring software on the encrypted phone system and provided federal agents with usernames and passwords for Chapo's FlexiSpy accounts. In one testimony, the prosecutors presented a series of highly incriminating, embarrassing conversations. The material presented in court included details of drug transactions and conversations about shootouts. With El Chapo's wife in the audience, prosecutors read aloud from his text message conversations with his lovers. It seems he just really loved women, as efforts did not seem to be really employed in his text to them. Although sometimes derogatory, he somehow found his way into their lives, pants, and hearts. You decide. Once, he wrote to one of his girlfriends for whom he had arranged a liposuction for, "You are the most important person to me. I love you." FlexiSpy is marketed by a Thai company and has been widely abused by jealous spouses to track their partners, according to a Vice report back in 2017. The boss of the Sinaloa Mexican drug cartel, Joaquin El Chapo Guzman Loera, became a sex addict when he first went to prison in Mexico. When he was thrown into prison for the first time, he turned himself into the king of the colony of prisoners. He ordered food, drugs, and many women on demand. One Mexican journalist, in a book titled Emma and the Other Narco Women, wrote, "Over the years in Puerto Grande, El Chapo is a drug and sex addict." She added that El Chapo competed with his fellow prisoners, actor Luis Palma Salazar, who is also a Sinaloa drug dealer. They compete on who can last the longest during the sexual act and who can gather the most number of partners. They bring in prostitutes from outside, and if that's not possible, they pay for the nurses, cleaners, and cooks who work in the system penitentiary. The men also had sex with female prisoners held in the men's section of the facility. Among El Chapo's lovers is Zalima Yulia Hernandez, 23 years old, who is serving a sentence for robbery. El Chapo, then a married father of 5, got Zalima pregnant at least twice and arranged for her to have an abortion in prison. Meanwhile, El Chapo ordered that an unnamed female prisoner who resisted her wishes be beaten and raped viciously. Annabel Hernandez writes that the drug lord also has food from the best Mexican restaurants delivered to his cell, and Viagra, perhaps unsurprisingly given his rivalry with Salazar. El Chapo, who began his life of crime in the 1970s as a driver for drug trafficker Miguel Angel Felix Gallardo, only first landed in prison in 1993 for his role in the assassination of Cardinal Juan Jesus Posadas Ocampo, who was gunned down in the parking lot of the International Airport in Guadalajara. Catholic bishop was caught in the crossfire between rival drug traffickers and mistaken for a drug lord. In prison, El Chapo was able to pay for his lifestyle, thanks to regular infusions of cash from his cousin, drug dealer Arturo Beltran Leyva. He also bribed federal guards at the Puente Grande high-security prison in Jalisco. When El Chapo escaped back in 2001, the official version was different from what Hernandez wrote in his book. The general thought, however, is that he left the prison in a laundry cart, but Hernandez claims the cartel man left prison dressed as a policeman, with the complicity of many federal authorities. In 2019, he was sentenced to life on drug trafficking charges in the United States and is serving a life sentence at a maximum security prison in Colorado, where presumably Viagra isn't available on tap. On the flip side, where the growing technological change provided results, Guzman's special phones represented just one half of the tech story that unfolded. That software is best known for its role in intercepting the communications of human rights activists around the globe, including in Mexico, where it has been deployed against journalists reporting on the drug trade and cartel violence, among others. Pegasus has been detected in some 45 countries, and it most notably gained attention for its use against Saudi activists critical of Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. The use of NSO's technology in capturing El Chapo featured in the company's marketing materials since 2017, but now is making its executives available for interviews to an influential Israeli journalist in what appears to be a carefully calculated public relations maneuver. If they really were valuable in catching El Chapo, then we shouldn't begrudge them a victory lap. Don't forget to subscribe and ring the notifications bell to stay connected with our channel. Take your time through our page to find other interesting titles.